Radical leftist rioters beheaded a statue of Christopher Columbus in Boston, Massachusetts this week. In Richmond, Virginia, rioters set a Christopher Columbus statue on fire and then threw it in a lake. In St. Paul, rioters tied a noose around the neck of another Christopher Columbus statue and toppled it. Take a look. These rioters, vandalizing and destroying the statues, claim they are fighting against white supremacy because these radical leftists have rewritten history in order to demonize Christopher Columbus as an imperialist white man, to paint Columbus as an oppressor in order to justify delegitimizing the entire United States. This is what I mean. The allegations these vandals make against Christopher Columbus are as follows. Liberals accuse Columbus of committing genocide against the Native American people, of enslaving the natives, of imperialism, and then liberals trot out what they call evidence of Columbus's bad character. But those allegations are not entirely true. In fact, it's historically ignorant to claim that Christopher Columbus was a mass murderer. It is true that the majority of Native Americans tragically died in the centuries after Columbus arrived in America. Historians estimate that the population of North America was approximately 20 million in 1492 when Columbus arrived. And within the next 200 years, 95% of the Native Americans had died. But they were almost all killed entirely by disease: smallpox, flu, tuberculosis, malaria, plague, measles, cholera, diseases of Eurasian origin that the natives had no immunity against. And this is certainly, inarguably tragic, but is it genocide? Is it mass murder at the hands of Christopher Columbus? Not even close. It's also true that Christopher Columbus kept natives as slaves, and slavery is always unequivocally morally wrong. But it's also not true that Columbus was some aberration in his time, that he was committing unspeakable atrocities that nobody else was committing. Now, that doesn't make it right, but the context is key here. Native American tribes also constantly enslaved each other, and even the Pope in that era declared that cannibals could be made slaves. Again, that doesn't make it right. It's not. It's wrong. But the historical context of the time is critical if we're trying to paint the character of Christopher Columbus. Columbus also told his men not to rape and plunder, and punished his men when they did. In fact, according to history professor Carol Delaney, most of the atrocities perpetuated against the Native Americans were committed by people after Columbus. And we have historical evidence in writing. Columbus defends the Native Americans. He describes friendly relations with them, and he adopted the son of a chief. And then we have the allegations of Columbus's bad character. Democrats love to trot out historical record of reports on how awful Columbus was. But let's take a look at that report. It was written by a man named Francisco de Bobadilla, who was a chief political rival of Christopher Columbus at the time. He's the man who wrote the indictment of Columbus. But wouldn't this be like Hillary Clinton writing the history of the 2016 election and Hillary Clinton describing Donald Trump's character? Context is key. And so the Democrats count on you not knowing the truth or the context about Christopher Columbus. The Democrats count on you believing their revisionist history so that they can erase the true history of Christopher Columbus and pretend America has some shameful founding and therefore should be abolished and replaced with radical leftist Marxism. But their premise is built on a lie.